Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL officially unofficial desk coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Split Playoffs. Round 2, Match 1, Game 1's in the bag. Coming into Game 2, V3 Esports became victorious over Sengoku Gaming, and now I must ask you and Nymera, I must ask you, sir, now that the first win was in V3's favour, it didn't go in Sengoku's favour. Do you want to change your prediction? It's all right, mate. I can forgive you.
What they've got, I think this is more likely to be a 3-2 to V3.
Okay.
The question is whether Sengoku can very quickly ban away some key components of the composition that they just won here with coming into the rest of the series. Stuff like the Lilia, is that actually important? Do they think they have picks which can deal with that? Is it a problem of what Apperman is picking on the top side? I think that the rest of the map was relatively stable. It's now about adaptation. I do think that Sengoku and V3 are some of the best teams in the leagues, well, at least best suited to do that. I'm hoping we do see some adaptation, though, because V3 were very, very confident in that game.
Do you mind if I go on from there a little bit?
I was going to hand it over to you, yeah?
Thank you very much. So the thing I wanted to call out as well is the question is whether this lane swap is kind of the cheese strat that only works the once, and Sengoku Gaming can adapt if it happens again and they won't get affected the same way again because they kind of have a chance to reset and put some game plans in place, or whether it all kind of falls apart again because they're just not ready for it at all.
Well, with that all said, gentlemen, pick and ban phase has started. Take it away.
There we go. Thank you so much, Masked Swan. And that is a question, right? Do you expect the lane swap to come out again? If it does, would Sengoku Gaming get hit the same way?
Well, that's a good question, right? I mean, things are already starting pretty ominously for Sengoku because they've chosen to be on red side instead of blue side. This is their game choice. They can choose where they want to be on this game, at least in games 2 and 4. It's not the dynamic side choice where in some series you have the loser choosing the side. It is games at 2 and 4 towards the lower seed, and then 1, 3, and 5 to the higher seed. And right now, looking relatively similar, except that set has been taken away by Sengoku.
Also worth pointing out that V3 are back on blue. They have not been forced to switch sides. And
I just said that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, but specifically because I know you saying that you generally favour blue side in general.
Well, no, I was saying that Sengoku have chosen to be on red side in their game choice. Like, wow, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just statistically, globally, it's been very blue side favoured as we've been going over. And kind of very similar bans here. The V3 banning out the Caitlyn on blue
means they don't want to pick it first.
No. Interesting. They obviously have some other plans in mind. Perhaps they just go straight towards something like the set or the Scion.
Well, so set's been banned. That's one thing. So the Volibear's available. But do you think Lilia is first pick worthy?
Certainly flexible enough to be considered.
Yeah, it does have a role within a lot of these team comps, right? It allows you to be that team fight initiator. You do need to draft extra frontline around it, and that does constrain some of what your team comp wants to be doing. So Sengoku, are they going to pick a safer backline again, like the Azir? The Orianna, of course, been banned away. Azir is pretty okay as a blind pick. I think it's even better against V3 because they don't play as many, or at least they haven't been as successful with playing through mid and punishing mid laners unless they have something like a Trundle and they have the Galio themselves for early setup. Having the Lilia most likely going towards the jungle means that Piran is more than happy to pick this very scaling mid laner, even though it can be punished in some kind of situations. Having not the Nidalee this time, but the Graves, which is much better in the fights, with less of that supportive kind of element to it, Sengoku changing things a little bit now.
So, Graves v Lilia is our potential matchup. Boogie played the last time, but again, we have to reiterate, jungle isn't the only place that Lilia can go. She can end up top, is a pretty good matchup into a lot of melee top lane matchups in particular. Okay. But V3 are locking in the Kalista early. Archer is a very, very good Kalista, but I know for Skur, I know a lot of analysts, I know myself, are not convinced that Kalista is a high priority AD carry. You don't necessarily want to like first round her anymore.
Sengoku can lock in Ashe or Jhin on the next pick, and that would be fine for them. Hovering the Noxen, something which Ace had played before. He played it in the mid lane a lot of the way through spring, but it's going to be the Nautilus instead. So very strong engaged bot lane with the Fate's Call and, of course, the Dredge line depth charge from the Nautilus coming in as well. Sengoku needs to lock in their AD carry now, I think, unless you want to lock in something like Morgana. Maybe that's the choice as well. They have a couple of options available. But I think if you don't lock an AD carry, you lose that preferential 2v2 versus this bot lane.
Sengoku Gaming decide Leona is the option. It's actually very good
Okay.
versatility. You solar flare her, she gets stunned in place. She doesn't
Right.
get to hop.
So, I think the logic from Sengoku is, okay, we have Ashe, we have Jhin, we have Ezreal, all of which are fine. They might even have something else cooked up in that bot lane, and you can't ban away all of those things from V3. The question is, do V3 ban away 2 of them and then pick something which would work against the third in a larger team comp? So say you ban away Ashe and you ban away Jhin, and then you have the Ezreal. Maybe there's a pick they have to say which does really well to the Ezreal, because that's most likely what Utomiyashi is going to do. Sengoku banning away the Sun, very, very important if V3 were to go for a lane swap kind of game plan again. Not going to have that same wave clear potential and the low economy style top laner from the side of Paz's champion pool.
So V3 ban out the Ashe as well. You called out earlier. As you said, the Sion's gone down. I suspect it might be a Jhin second ban here for V3. I'm curious to see what Sengoku go towards. Perhaps another one of those sort of self-sufficient top laners.
Unless they want to ban away the Ezreal. Ezreal is still relatively strong.
Sure.
But then again, having Leona Jhin does seem like a pretty high burst combo. Gonna put that out there. And seems like you can just tie up the front line in place. Okay, so Sengoku, what's their last ban gonna be?
They've just missed it.
Ban?
They don't ban anything. They miss the ban.
Okay.
That
I'm surprised
worries me.
they don't ban Karma. I think Karma, you know that Ace plays it. You know he is happy to be left isolated. That's an interesting one.
So, unless there's an issue there on the other side that we don't know about, they've just frankly missed a ban, which is a really poor sign, honestly, for Sengoku Gaming. Suggests they're a little bit tilted here, or at least there's a lot of disagreement going on within the camp. They don't get a ban. The last ban here for V3 is Renekton. They don't want to give that over to Appman. It's a pretty strong laning champion that Appman has indexed towards before, with Aatrox as well being relatively low in priority now as well. It's one of those other lane dominant picks that you can't get a hold of. Utorimashi hovering the Ezreal, decides he wants to go with that option, locks it in.
So not been going for anything like the Senna either. That would have been a pick which would have been pretty okay here too. You have the ability to throw out those Ws, try and catch out the Kalista, go for the Glacial Augment, and any kind of slow is normally very good versus the Kalista too. Either way, I'm going to expect an Iceborne Ezreal to come out this game, and that will still provide a lot of that, whilst also having slightly higher carry potential. I also think Ezreal is better into the likes of Ornn than someone like Senna or Jhin because you have more mobility. Ornn's not locked in though, it's going to be Ace's LeBlanc.
So, a lot of agency early out of the bot and mid lane carries, and while Kalista is nerfed, Gorilla way back when always said that, yeah, Kalista might be weak, but she empowers supports so much. And when you've got a guy like Reiner as your support, powering him with something like a Fate's Call is always going to be a valid option. V3 lock in a Volibear as well, probably going top, but again, there is still room to flex the literary Volibear between top and jungle. So we've got to see what the last pick is here. It's a straight lock of the Gnar, very swiftly done.
Okay, Gnar locked in. Right. I was wondering if we were going to see something like a Mordekaiser instead. I am always worried when I see Afamen's Gnar. Traditionally, this has been a pick where he ends up in a side lane and he doesn't outplay on, as opposed to something like his Aatrox or Renekton where he normally does. His Mordekaiser as well, right? I am a little bit worried for Sengoku's draft now. I do think that having Ace on the LeBlanc versus the Azir, it's harder to escape that matchup. Maybe that's something which Sengoku can play around. Particularly because Blank has been really, really good around pathing around mid whilst also still having huge farm scores and indexing into the 2v2. I don't think Lilia LeBlanc is a particularly strong 2v2. Not until you do get to the level 6 mark anyway. But yeah, interesting stuff.
One way of putting it, you've seen the different comps here as well. Are you favouring V3 again in this one, or are you thinking Sengoku have kind of got what they want out of this?
I'm liking what V3 have done. I think that one of the big questions whenever Sengoku are on the Rift is, can you make Afamen uncomfortable? I think this is the kind of comp where you definitely can. You have a very high mixed damage top jungle 2v2, a LeBlanc that can roam there, and I don't think this Gnar will be safe in side lanes again. I think that Volibear can very much deal with that 1v1. I'm a little worried for the mid lane. You don't have that Karma again. You can go for those very cheap items in the Athene's Mikhails, which are like 2,100 gold each, as opposed to something like a Luden's 3,200 gold. And Ace has a bit more emphasis on him to actually be doing the solo plays himself rather than supporting his teammates. I also think that Ezreal Leona is okay versus the bot lane, but I think that Archer and Rhino do have a lot of ability to determine their own fate in their bot lane.
And I wonder as well, with the way that Ace plays LeBlanc, namely getting out to side lanes and looking to do a lot of damage, because he is a very good
Forget the
LeBlanc
farm.
player. Like, honestly, he's a pretty good LeBlanc player. We've largely been fairly impressed with his
I
LeBlanc
say,
play.
yeah, sure, but then also I remember in the last week, we saw that Ace struggle to make an impact on that pick.
Sure.
So I'm worried that even though he is mechanically pretty proficient on this pick, whether his team is ready to put that much emphasis on the mid lane.
The only reason I bring it up is because we can see that if that LeBlanc can find the way, particularly potentially to the bot lane with the Lilia, when you've got the Fate's Call available, could just look to hard dive bot lane. They've done it before versus Ezreal's. Of course, there's a lot of outplay potential with the Leona and Ezreal there, but I wonder whether they could start playing around that side of the map.
I want to see a bit more from Blank this game too. I think last game, I think the Nilly wasn't awful. I think he was put behind, and often Blank, when he's not got the first 5 to 10 minutes in his head really sorted out, he can get a little bit caught off guard. The fact that the lane swap came out and he lost so much fun because a lot of it went over to Paz's Scion, that set him behind. I think him getting towards Dragons was really nice, and he did have a couple of nice... I mean, the bot lane dive onto the Sun to finally kill him, juggling aggro very nicely, that was pretty good too. But with the Graves this time, you do need to be putting out damage. You can start threatening the Lilia, you can definitely run into them, and you can shield the Azir from that Lilia at the same time too. I'm looking for Blank and Pyrion to get themselves into a point of power where they can start team fighting, and not just sit at Soul Point, but actually get a Soul themselves this time.
And we kind of saw, Sengoku Gaming did a decent job of recovering, actually, frankly, from the mid and jungle in the last game. It was just a little too late. We want Nidalee to be doing more in the early game. Like, yeah, she got to 2-0 and 2, got herself a 20 CS lead by that, got to Soul Point. All of that's great stuff, but the early game itself was super quiet from Blank, and that's our main crux of the issue here. When you're running something like Graves as well, your aim is to run over the game as fast as you can, as early as you can, and just kind of keep scaling and farming your way to victory, right? And if he ends up having a quiet first 10-15, could bode pretty ill for Sengoku Gaming.
Could do. So, just waiting to get into game, and we were talking about how this is now about adaptation, because V3 came out with something completely different for the first game. I don't think you can load into every game and plan a lane swap. I don't think it's a strategy which holds water against a team which is very prepared for it. It is very important in the best of 5 to have the threat of bringing it out, though, because if you are loading into a game with no teleport on your AD carry, which is very important, we saw that from the Thelos, right? Loading in and not getting the cull early, starting with the Doran's Blade, that's also quite important, because the FLS in that last game got that extra bunch of gold from that. Choosing your runes to be more defensive, I mean, we saw... when SK tried it the other day, they took Aftershock on the Volibear top lane instead of going for the press the attack or something like that. These small things can lead up to these dives working or not working, the tempo being faster or slower around the map. And you need to be very, very careful that you are prepared for the eventuality of this coming out. But the thing is, in a game where you are prepared for this, it turns out so much worse for V3. Now we've got to see whether Sengoku can bring it back in game 2.
All right, we get a nice view of Spirit Blossom Thresh as we enter onto the Rift. We're here. And we're going to see another interesting little level 1 startup for V3. Moving into the bot lane brush. Going to try and catch somebody out here. You're actually in the river and they don't know what's going on. He's going to be in this particular bush. Needs to find his way out. Has to start the Arcane Shift.
And that's a problem because you already know that Callista Nautilus is really strong at level 1 with Halo Blades. You hop forward with those bunny hops, the auto attacks, and the Rend comes through very, very strong. Now with Ezreal not having any level 1 pressure, bot lane Scuttle probably going to go over to this Lilia, and that might be very important given how the junglers, there was a bit of a differential there in the last game.
Okay, so level 1 doesn't necessarily get any kills, but it forces that awkward level 1 ability. Means that Utramashi is going to have absolutely no pressure in lane because he can't Mystic Shot. And that is a big deal for Ezreal at level 1.
That's a big thing, right? Because one of the reasons Ezreal is so hard to come out of lane is just that he has access to farm all the time. You can just keep Mystic Shotting. NC very, very close to getting hooked in.
Yeah, they saw him on Vision backing away, and now he's going to get hopped on by Archer, and that will mean that the blue start goes the way of V3. Okay, you can see the Blank returns to favour on the other side, but Volibear, happier playing weak side than most top laners, can do that pretty well. And that will be Boogie on this side, and we said that perhaps V3 will be playing around this bot side, certainly setting up to do so early on this game.
Absolutely. Okay, right. So, standard lanes, that's nice. However, it is going to be vertical jungling, so Still a little bit of the weirdness coming in from V3. Definitely not wanting to leave things in a more stable map state, because that normally has favored Sengoku in the past. Level 1 fight, you don't have Mystic Shock, Sengoku. You can't walk up to this.
Is just taking all the spears. There's no rend. Oh, actually, I apologize. That is the rend level 1, so it just takes a lot of damage for NT there. As you said, they can't take that fight and get punished for it pretty damn hard.
And now you are without an exhaust, which is very important versus the Callista. Of course, you use that versus the Rend in its own way. You know, it is just in its own way, it is the most powerful level 1 spell for bot lane. It gives you so much pressure. Boogie's looking to see if he can get any kind of poke down there on the bot lane, because with the early damage and the Halo Blades, Aftershock tanking up from the Nautilus could be very, very potent dive.
Level 3 dives are definitely a thing. Boogie backs away, doesn't want to do it again. Can see from actually now finally at level 2. They just couldn't quite get enough poke to make it worthwhile. But you can see this is V3's game plan. 2 games in a row, get their bot lane ahead by diving whoever's under the opposing turret.
Oh yeah, well, you know, never want to give that fair laning advantage. You know, if you can make a tilted map, why don't you? You have the stronger level 1 support in Reiner, allows you to walk in and try and go for that level 1. They do end up forcing the split map state. The problem for this now is that you do have a Gnar in an isolated lane, will be getting very far ahead, and Appaman, as we said, when he's ahead in lane, tends to do very well with that kind of situation.
As you said, that is quite a significant advantage in that situation. Of course, Volibear's going to get some farm on the tower.
Like
but
2-3 waves already.
But it's still pretty damn massive. We saw in the last game that it was Appaman being held to 4 CS, but that was in a lane swap. This is just straight in lane, and we had some concerns about the way Appaman plays, the use of, you know, Appaman was playing that lane, but this time around it's just the other way around. Thundering Smash won't catch onto the Gnar, keeps his distance, and hell, the mid lane as well going pretty well. There's been the early teleport out of Ace, who's down 10 odd CS as well here.
That's the thing, right? So Period already up a fair amount of waves, but Blank is here once again, forces out the ward. I like what Ace did, by the way. He did end up teleporting back, but then immediately holding the wave to make sure that the wave would be frozen on his side unless Period teleported back. It just means that you're forcing out the teleport in response instead of him walking back to lane. So at least capitalizing on that slightly awkward situation in that mid lane.
See as well, first jungle routes on your screen. It was the blue side invade and vertical jungling for both of these junglers as they run into each other in the red side, blue side jungle. I was going to say red side, blue side jungle, but that's just like red side, blue quadrant?
Red side, blue side, red side.
You understand what I mean.
Like
There's got to be a better way of phrasing
that. It's like
that.
one of those like party songs from the 90s, which everyone still remembers for whatever reason.
Slide to the
left. Slide to the red side. Slide to the blue side.
1 camp this time. 2 camps this time.
I'm hoping these junglers are getting more than 1 camp, otherwise they're very unhappy about life. Okay, right. Okay, so is this going to be a teleport back to lane from Paz? Appaman is more than happy to stay in this lane. He still has his pot. This was a Doran's Ring start by Volibear, allows you to get 2 pots, and you can see there's not an inventory. Appaman trading up very, very hard so far. That's not the problem with Gnar, though. The problem is, how are you going to start fighting in the later stages of the game when you have to fly around that Mega Gnar bar, and V3 have been very coordinated thus far to deny stuff like that.
So it's kind of level out to what will roughly be about maybe a 15 CS lead by the time Volibear gets to that wave. But that is a significant lead. It's about a 10 CS lead in mid as well for the side of the Azir. And we know Sengoku Gaming do this. They just lane really well. They get more CS than the opposing team.
And you know what's really impressive? You know how badly that level 1 went for V3 and Sengoku in terms of that bot lane? Ezreal's even in CS. It doesn't even have teleport. Didn't get back to lane with that. Level advantage for Blank, and Perion's here.
Perion doesn't have level 6, though Ace does, and that's going to be Blooming Blows hitting pretty damn hard onto Blank, and Ace was thinking about looking for the Mimic abilities, could do a lot of work early on. Reiner's roaming up, Perion has now got level 6, Emperor's Divide is available. They're looking for perhaps something of a, well, just a shove in here by the looks of it. Want to make sure Ace gets a decent reset or an opportunity to roam.
We do. So, Boogie messing with Blank a bit. We know that the Lilia farms very quickly, and actually in these small, shorter range brawler matchups, does a lot of damage with those Blooming Blows if you keep hitting that sweet spot of the Q. Doesn't take Dragon as fast as a lot of other junglers, but when you got some help and you have a Callista on the bottom side of the map too, not really much of an issue. So an early Mountain Dragon going the way of V3 Esports, and with the likes of the Nautilus and the Volibear on the team, still has quite a lot of value for them.
There we go. Secured first up. Paz is gambling, is the word we'll use. Frolicking in the river, away from the evil hunter of Blank, who's there on the Scuttle Crab.
Say,
Poor innocent bear with sword stuck in him. Just awful.
Isn't this more... Isn't this more of a Bambi thing? Wait, we've got Bambi and Bambi's mum matchup in the jungle.
Oh no.
No, we've got the Hunter versus
no.
Bambi. Oh, I'm horrified.
Okay, so the question is, are we going to see Bambi or Bambi's mum? That is always the question with this champion, and Blank thus far farming up just fine. So is Boogie, and
Wait, does Athman count as Thumper then when he's in Mini now? Oh, this is great.
I know Volibear is clearly Thumper, but like aged up a few years. This is like Cthulhu Thumper.
Wow.
Pass.
Okay.
Gonna
Can't
get
give
down the top
lane.
side. Thumper, no! He thumps down, flashes out, and will manage to survive for now. But Blank and Athman are not done. Mininar now out. Archer and V3 looking to return the favour on the other side. Paz has managed to escape with Blank's health bar taking fairly low. You can see no plates. That's why the top step. But wait, Reiner found a hook. Enti is in so much trouble. Zenith Blade into flash from both the jungler and support will secure first blood to this Lilia. Blooming blows and screw you, hunters, says the Bambi in the jungle.
Flashing over. I'm pretty sure this is this is like the Grimm's the Brothers Grimm version of that fairy tale, because this is one murderous fawn in the jungle. 1-0 first blood once again to V3. We saw the stats before. Very dangerous. Boogie here for you to imagine. Has level 6.
Not again. Boogie's in a lot of trouble though. He takes a lot of damage, forces the heal out, the teleport back in. Boogie's so low, but they do secure the kill. And Yutora Mayashi falls down. It is a second kill on the bot side, playing that aggro on the line. I think we're watching Die Hard, not Bambi here.
Yippee-ki-yay, Mother Bambi.
Bambi's mother, yeah.
Bambi's mother. Blank going to take over the... Actually, very close there to be stolen by Paz with the Sky Splitter. But Blank hold his nerve, doesn't have the smite up. Didn't need it either way. So at least it is a trade of objectives. Getting the kill on this bot lane and making sure that Archer is in the ascendancy is very important. The plates are going down. Enti, you know you can't walk up to this, guys. You know that. Didn't flash out the initial hook. Flashes over to at least force the follow-up from the Lilia. Means that they do end up getting that kill. Left alone with the tower, though, the next wave is pushed in. Boogie is still on the bottom side of the map, and Yutora Mayashi spotted by the lane ward. Means that Boogie sticks around for another bite of the pie. Gonna call out there. Face call did actually miss. I think one more flash for an auto would have killed Boogie. Didn't end up working out that way though, and unfortunate for the bot lane of Sengoku.
And Lilting Lullaby was coming through as well, so I don't think Yutora actually had all that many options. So he was getting slept at the time. So a bit of a sad space for the bot lane of Sengoku Gaming, now down 20 CS and 2 kills.
He's been forced into using Pajama Guardian Ezreal. Like, go to sleep.
Go to sleep. That's it.
Lights out.
Yeah.
Curfew. This is curfew.
I don't want to go to sleep. Nightmares are only found there. Blank, however, has summoned the Rift Herald top, and instead of going for Bambi, they're going to try and attack Thumper. Not again. Paz trying to escape is getting shot down as he runs. Has not got flash. Takes a lot of damage. There is collateral damage. Sky Splitter will not come through in time, but Blank flashes in to get that final auto, and it will be the 1v1 kill for the jungler of Sengoku Gaming.
Really good damage calculations from Blank. Knows he has to flash in for that final auto. Was trying maybe to get another lane to the line out, but it's still going to be the kill onto Paz. Boogie is in the top side jungle, but I don't think he's found Blank just yet. He sees him now.
Forces the slowed recall, and unfortunately the Swell Seed hit the wall there. Couldn't quite find the angle. Was trying to stay out of vision best he could. Can't quite find it, otherwise could potentially flip for the kill there, honestly, with the with the slow into a watch out Eep. Most glorious name for a play-by-play caster to ever use in a team fight.
It's up there. I mean, it's up there with that. I mean, as much as I hated the ability name, the Rat-a-tat-tat from Twitch's renamed Ultimate was pretty fun.
It was.
It was fun to say, I just didn't like the name compared to Spray and Pray.
Oh, yeah,
it's got a little bit more charisma to it.
It does.
Either way, Biggie not eeping anything, not making anyone watch out in that particular instance.
I mean, it was also Lux's old name, right? Was it Finales Funkenalen?
Finalis Funkeln.
Funkeln, is it? Okay.
Believe so, yeah. It's, and by the way, Elements' Lux does say that occasionally.
Oh, does she? That's kind of cool. That's a nice little teaser in that. I like that. Yeah. Teaser, Easter egg, probably the better way of putting that.
Okay, and speaking of Easter eggs and eggs in general, where are the eggs put into which baskets? It's top lane for Sengoku, a massive gold lead. You can see what Aphman is doing with it. Full Black Cleaver, just running down Paz.
Sky Splitter's going to come out, does get the shield, but definitely needed it. Finally avoids a boomerang there, but that's half HP just from straight autos from Nah. He can do that. It will be Infernal Drake up in a few seconds, and the other lead is, of course, for V3's bot lane. And Sengoku Gaming are playing in the dark. This forest isn't yours, and these woodland creatures are pretty terrifying. LeBlanc goes over the wall. The Emperor's Divide does nothing, and that particular expedition from Shurima ends in disaster. There's a lilting lullaby down onto NT as well. They want to get this one, the face call, just to get NT further forward. He's sure to fall as well. Archer gets that one. 3-0-1 on the Callista. Nerfs be damned. It's all going up V3's way around this bot side.
I love how V3 play around vision. They know how to catch people out. It is disrespectful from Blank and Perrin, don't get me wrong. And in another day, if I was feeling a bit more grouchy and I hadn't had my cup of coffee, I would be flaming them for walking in without that vision. But it's V3 that capitalized, and they know their damage limits. And then they follow up with a similar pick onto NT, knowing that the Lilting Lullaby wasn't even using that initial trade, gets them control over the bot side of the map. And as you were saying, the Callista is off to a storming start, 2,000 gold ahead of Yutori Miyashi once again.
What it doesn't lead to, though, is the Infernal Dragon, because they went for the blue buff steal after they went for NT, and that means that Pyrian got to teleport back in, and NT got to walk back to lane. Probably with the assistance of some tier 2 boots, I imagine. I can't see the inventories right now, but wait, that is a Zenith Blade. Now on to Ace, who's in trouble, but does have Distortion, so escapes over the wall. But Sengoku Gaming will actually get the chance to start up on this dragon.
Really, dude, you gotta stop hitting walls with those things. It's like trying to give the Rift a new paint job. It's like, oh yes, this is my my canister of colored things. Let me mash it against a wall.
Okay, so gold lead actually still in favor of Sengoku Gaming here, just because of laning prowess and the top side advantage, but it's very even. It's 100 gold difference. Drake a piece. Tower in favor of Sengoku Gaming is probably what's giving the advantage right now.
Yeah, it is. And it is important that we mention that Dragon apiece because it's an Ocean Rift. Ocean Soul, really, really important this game. You have a lot of people who want to be sticking around the fight for longer periods of time, and having the Ocean Rift, if it were to be, the Ocean Soul were it to be claimed, would mean that they have the extra amount of HP to play with because it regens over that duration of the fight. So now that will be a late game condition to play around, and there's nothing really been stacked up early so far.
And you can see V3 are the ones making the early plays largely, but Sengoku's straight laning stats are really good.
And it's worth, and again, once again, in isolation, Pyrian is ahead of Ace. We know that Azir is a strong blind pickable champion. I don't think LeBlanc is the best matchup into Azir. I prefer something like an Akali. Orianna normally does pretty well, Syndra in the past, Zoe. But LeBlanc, because she has to jump in with the distortion, means that with a good shifting sands, and then, of course, your E as well for the shield and the extra damage that comes through, you can get on top of the LeBlanc and even win out in the shorter burst trades.
You can see that's where a lot of this gold is coming from for Sengoku Gaming. It's the first turret, and it is all those plates. Top side has definitely got Appman.
And what a difference from game one, right?
Right, absolutely. And Paz has died the once. Done okay in keeping some CS up at least, considering he's been under the Kosh for range matchup. But either way, as I said, I was like keeping up in CS, and I look at the lane. But Appman is about to do some Appman things. Has got flash there when Boogie goes the wrong way. But they found the Gnar now. They're going to get a lilting lullaby. The flash comes down. But now Reiner needs to get forced. But they can't get him. They're going to hook onto the minions. Forced to face all the way. And Sengoku Gaming are about to come and punish lilting lullaby and Fate's Caller down. They're down some key teamfight ultimates. They get the solar flare down. Reiner falls. So does Archer. And V3. Oh no. Goodbye, Bambi. That one was a T-Rex, and they teleport bot's way to stop the play bot side, and there is the gold lead you were after. 2,000 gold lead.
Appman taketh away, just Appman things.
Oh, he just walked back and forwards and survived.
V3, I don't think it's wrong for them to look for that play. The point where it goes all too wrong is the hook thrown out by Reiner on that top side play. You see it land there, and suddenly that means the Fate's Call no longer available. You have to get him out. Another turret shot would have meant Reiner would be going down regardless of what happened afterwards. Then Blank is there. Pyrian has a great angle, and so many of the threatening tools for V3 have been used already. They don't have the disruption from the Nautilus, from the Callista, or from the Lilia either, and they're just the continued firepower of Sengoku, because they're not far behind in this game, comes out trumps.
That was an overreach, I think it is fair to say. Sengoku Gaming even up the kill score, and they take the gold lead with those as well. As we said, up about 2,000 now. And that will be a big deal, considering Ocean Drake will be up in a couple minutes, and they'll have that gold lead to play with. Especially where that gold is. It's on to the Gnar, who's got himself a frozen mallet to really play into the lane advantage he has. It's on to Blank, who's got himself that Dirk. And Nemesis somewhere is screaming because that is a first item Luden's Echo onto his ear.
So I don't mind going Luden's comment on Azir. I do prefer sitting on Lost Chapter and then going towards the Nash's Tooth. It gives you a much better... Wow, okay. So I thought that Archer was fed. Turns out Afferman is the more fed. He is the feddest. He is well caloried up.
Yeah, and it's not like Archer hasn't got a significant lead over the Ezreal.
Yeah.
Up 2,000 gold is a good lead, but that is a terrifying Gnar.
And also remember, Slow's are really good versus Callista. Frozen Melt on Gnar.
Yep.
Just auto-attack once, and Callista is feeling really awkward about the situation. Gets that slower jump speed. I also want to really praise NT for that top lane fight too. I know we were talking about the implications more during the replay, but he got right on top of Archer, just locked him down in place, and he was just deleted. Couldn't do anything with that lead.
And especially because NT had some overextensions, I think is the way we're going to phrase it. You know, stepping too far forwards, went down for first blood between the two towers. Saw it in lane as well, but level 1 looked a bit awkward. But we're going to see potentially a fight here. NT is looking. Archer gets out with the Blade of the Ring. But Udrome actually takes a lot of his HP bar in trade. Pyrion has the mark above his head, but the Dream Dust will not be popped by the Lilting Lullaby. And instead, Sengoku can summon the top Herald. Yes.
There are biscuits still on Utodome Ash, otherwise I'd be feeling a bit more awkward about Sengoku because you do have a lower HP as Ezreal at the end of that play. This is going to take down mid lane out of turret, and because V3 still stuck around to wave clear and clear that out, it means that as the Ocean Dragon spawns right now, Sengoku for once have first approached the objective.
They do, but V3 are going to step forward. NT gets onto Reiner, but that's it. Fate's Call comes out. Ace is in the backline. Look where Paz is as well. He's looking for an engage, and NT has run out of options. Goes golden, though, so maybe I was going wrong. Archer pulls out the Ren, though. Apperman gets a nod, but it's only onto Reiner. That's not what you wanted in this fight, and Apperman has to back away with his health bar in tatters. It is a 1 for none in favor of V3, but Sengoku Gaming is still around this Dragon Pit. They've got health bars to play with. Paz has a teleport, though. Will look to come back in. Reiner does not, but will also likely have to back.
So Ace is still full HP on the bottom side of this fight, so he's looking for he looks for a pick. He doesn't have the Mimic available, but he sees where Sengoku was. He's doing a good amount of scouting, but of course he is spotted out too. This is going to be the Dragon seeded over to V3. Feels like Sengoku don't feel like they have the ability to fight that anymore. NT with the Solar Flare in that fight. That was really a big moment. I hope we get to see a replay. A lot of things happen on various parts of that fight there. Afman did a really good job of jumping in and threatening the Gnar ultimate, even when the Lilting Lullaby was put on him, trusting in his own stats to carry him through that fight and not get burst out in the duration of that CC, and ended up reversing what looked to be a pretty awful situation for Sengoku.
Okay, well, we'll hopefully see that replay, but still some stuff on the map to be seeing. As we saw Blank there steal away the blue buff, which is a fairly big deal when you got Lily on well, either way,
I get one of those per cast, I do it once a week, and yeah.
All right, well, we're going to see the replay, and I'm going to deal with that pun later.
Okay, so replay. Hooray, this is my domain. NT sits in the bush, vision control over to Sengoku. That's something which we praised V3 for before. NT goes on to Reiner. Reiner has the Fate's Call. He gets out. Unfortunately, no such tool available towards NT. Does have the stopwatch. He's trying to maybe stopwatch out the Ren. Doesn't end up winning that mind game, though. Archer doesn't pull out those stacks. And then Afferman is left in the front line. Watch out for the next Swirl Seed. Oh, no, sorry, that was already gone through. Yeah, anyway, the ult came through, but Afferman survives just because he has so much HP at this point in the game.
He didn't find the massive fire my Mega Knight he was perhaps hoping for, but kind of stood in the front line long enough to make sure they couldn't dance further forwards for V3. So kind of job partly successful there, stopped it from being a complete disaster. Still, it's a kill over to V3, it's a second Drake over to V3, but Apperman, about 50 CS, is going to be a consistent thorn in the side of Paz in particular.
Yes. I want to see what Apperman's third item is going to be. He's got 2 daggers. That could be a Phantom Dance or Wit's End. He's stuck on the bot side. Buki is looking. I'm actually not sure what happens in this 2v2 because there is a teleport from Pyrion.
Pyrion, there's a reward though. He just gets to sit there from back out. They don't check the final push.
How does he do this so often? How does he find himself in these situations? Where did you learn to do this?
He just enjoyed watching Gambit in season 3.
Yeah.
Darian out there sort of telling him how it's done. Marin, perhaps, another top laner in a similar vein.
Soaz, yeah.
Soaz, indeed, yeah. The Soaz teleport named after him for a reason. There are a lot of these famous top laners. Calling people who are less than 30 old feels a bit sad, but this is the world of esports. Just if you're over 17, you're ancient. I need a Zimmer frame in this particular world. It feels
really strange to think that Faker is the same age as me. What have I done with my life, Sam? What have I done with mine?
Not won 3 world championships. That's what you've got. That's what you've done.
Yeah. Okay.
You're here on a bootleg broadcast of the LJL.
And what a wonderful place it is to be as well. Okay, so checking on some of the items, some of the builds which are coming through. Full tank 3 from Paz, not going for a Triforce on the Volley Bear. He kind of knew he had to kind of suck it up in this matchup, and he's kind of been doing that the whole game. 50 CS down and cut onto Atman, who of course we checked in with his items earlier, has stopped off for a Spectral Cowl though. Spectre's Cowl, that's the one. So he's going to be a little bit tankier for the AP magic damage from the side of V3 in the next couple of fights. Whereas Ezreal hits 2 item spike, very important. And it's a lethality first item out from Blank. It's the Umbral Glaive, vision control, the key there, and does have himself some extra burst for that 12 lethality coming from that item.
The Ezreal, though, is down the QSS and the boots to Kalista. Has no boots at all in inventory right now. So
Still Ezreal, dude.
Still Ezreal, so he's got those 2 items, but Kalista not exactly in a bad space ever. Ace gonna stop the recall. Oh,
Actually,
no.
Okay, right.
So that last 0.5 seconds of a recall can't be interrupted. You saw it there.
I thought it was 0.1. I thought it was 0.1 nowadays.
I had it down as 0.5 still, but it may well be lower. So we'll have to see.
Maybe that's changed it a number of seasons ago. Anyway, it is a short amount of time. He does go back and buy himself the Banshee's Veil, though. This is much more about the poke, has the Comet, has the Ludens, and we'll see how that works. Some of these more standoffish trades, because if they do hard commit, won't have as much damage as something like a Nash's Tooth and a Leandry's, but if you end up getting a couple of skill shots in a row onto an important target, might be quite important. The HP bar was in the longer trades.
I also want to call out,
Oh no, it wasn't quick enough.
You remember,
Recall quicker next time, NT.
You remember, of course, that you mentioned, of course, the Umbral Glaive, and we were saying around that last Dragon fight, yo, V3 playing really well with Vision.
It's kind of a recurring trend for us. One of the narratives we have about this team. They're really good with wards.
They are, but the point that Graves has now picked up an Umbral Glaive really helps combat that, because Sengoku Gaming are another team that are actually really good with wards, partly why they are so good with Zoe.
Yeah, it is. And Zoe, LeBlanc, they play those champions themselves, and we've noticed that Zoe has been banned a lot between both these games. Well, it's been banned. It's banned 2 out of 2 games. I guess that counts as a lot. Maybe I'm being too hyperbolic about that. Blitzcrank, really, really indecisive about this game. I think that's fair. It's not like we've got
It's been pretty back and forth.
It's not. We haven't got like a absolute like spine-breaking lead at this point. It's not like either team can't team fight their way out of this kind of situation. Looks like we're going to see ourselves one very quickly, though, as the next Ocean Dragon is spawning.
Meganar just ran out, but NT's found his way in. The True Shot Barrage doesn't catch as much as perhaps they would like. Blank chasing forward onto Boogie. That is the Swelcy down onto Appleman, and double Lilting Lullaby. Blank finds his way out with the collateral damage, and the pop will not come through. Forces a lot of things out of Blank in particular, though, but that is ult for ult in terms of junglers.
So this is another time where the Lilting Lullaby has not ended up sealing the initial engage, and now we come back to the poke war. You've got Nazir, you've got a LeBlanc, you've got an Ezreal, all trying to outdo each other in terms of those long-range poke trades, and of course the Swell Seeds coming through are doing work too. Second Ocean Dragon on the table for Sengoku, third for V3.
Ace is around the back. He's off vision, looking for all the poke. He get Blank taken very low. He's not particularly tanky. Enkity's in the backline, trying to buy time. Boogie cannot get in. Blank secures it, but now the fight commences. Sengoku Gaming are very low on health bars. Epperman gets a good Meganar, but he's got a flash out now, and they're caught on the wrong side. It is a 3v4 in the river as Boogie tries to hunt down the Sengoku Gaming members who are caught in the opposing jungle. NT will have a blast ban. And Paz is going to find Apperman, but not before the teleport out is secured.
He's the chosen one. He is Soaz.
NT will be the sacrificial lamb. Goes down to Ace. It is Dragon secured, but 1 kill over, and a lot of summoners burn across the board.
What a mess of a fight. We saw, again, NT kind of fluff the Solar Flare. It didn't end up catching Archer. And if Archer is not locked down, Sengoku really don't want to commit to these fights. If you can burst him out with Pyrrhon's full combo, who didn't get a chance to use the Emperor's Divide there, you can try and commit to it. But right here, Sengoku like, okay, Dragon, this is the important thing. Cannot afford to give over Soul Point. And that's why NT jumps in with the Stone Plate and tries to buy up as much time as possible. Apperman does have a decent dive in here. He gets the ult into the double stun onto 2 members, Paz and Boogie. Stops them from going onto Yutorimashi, who is caught by the dredge line at the very end of that. But nothing really big enough to seal off any kills. And then, the second coming of Soaz in the LJL. You saw it here first.
What this does mean, though, is there's a number of pretty key flashes down. Yutorimashi still down flash. NT down flash. Apperman down flash. And that means the flash Mega not available right now. But there's a little time before chances are it's going to be called into question. Then again, though, it's 26 minutes in. Baron's on the table. And those playmaking tools could be problematic this late into the game.
Could do. We are back to our side laning ways. No teleport on the Gnar, teleport on Paz. And that could lead to a big fight here.
Ace is off vision. It's in the enemy jungle. He's going to be behind everybody. He's going to pop Pyrian's Banshee's Veil. This Azir has to find his way out. Gets stunned in place. Lilting Lullaby comes down and Blank is in trouble. Paz finds his way onto the Grace, but he gets to quick draw over the wall. And V3 once again can't secure anything but NT's life, but it will be at least 1 kill over. And now V3 with the health bar advantage may well look to start up this Baron, or at least bait.
Easy as it happens, really. Teleport advantage for Paz. He has CC. He's a volley bear. Big old bear ends up managing to get a 4v5 engage onto Sengoku. So the Baron has not been started up yet. Meganar is available. This could be quite dangerous.
Ace gets onto you, Torimayashi forces the Mystic Shot, the Arcane Shift, I apologize, over the wall. That's a better way of phrasing it. Appman has got Meganar incoming. The Rage Bar too high. Pyrian puts up the Sun Disc in mid lane to gain mid priority. Trying to pull people up, but now Appman has been caught on, has been Meganar away. Paz goes forward with the Stormbringer, but can't find anything. V3 are going to have to pull back off, and NT has respawned, and the dance continues. The Sengoku Gaming have priority in mid lane and get themselves a tier 2 turret at the end of it all.
So actually, they managed to buy enough time with Afferman wandering back up into the mid lane to try and get that respawn back from the NT. That has now happened. It's a 5v5 once more, and a lot of ultimates are still down from the side of V3. Importantly, the Emperor's Divide is available to the Azir for that instant disengage word to someone to jump onto their face, like the Nautilus, or of course the LeBlanc diving in for distortion, amongst other things. We are left waiting for the next dragon spawn again, I think.
Still, all those flashes being down for Sengoku Gaming. Both carries without flash. It's only Blank with a flash available on Sengoku Gaming, and they've survived thus far with judicious use of that summoner, along with some good movement abilities, but if V3 can force a fight in the next minute or two, they have got that advantage, but they've got to be able to force it, and Sengoku Gaming have done a very good job of disengaging.
They have done, and they have to disengage, because there's 100 bloody CS lead onto the Callista. She's really damn strong. Going to back probably for a Mercurial Scimitar or a Bloodthirster, having that double into triple lifesteal build. Let's see what they end up completing. It will be the Bloodthirster QSS available too. This Callista, if allowed to run free firing in these fights, will run over Sengoku. You need NC to be on point. Sat at 0 and 5, he has, I think actually NC's had a better game than his scoreline suggests, but playing into this very short-range brawler team from V3 with a lot of lockup, once you are into that fight, when it means that Leona just doesn't have an easy way out.
No, and she's kind of been the sacrificial lamb, right? Like, V3 get engaged on, NT goes in.
Very strange to say that when you've got a Lilia in the game, but yes.
Again, we've been over this as Die Hard. It's the revenge of Bambi, who's clearly been done with all of this. Torimayashi takes a swell seat to the face and has to jump away. Cannot afford to be there. Appman in a bush, but not anywhere near to Meganar, so only here to be an annoyance right now rather than a serious threat. Reinhardt finds his way in with a dredge line, and NT finds his way out. Flashes is nearly back up for Torimayashi, and I believe it has just, in fact, come up. But V3 have position in the river now. It is Ocean Soul Point on the scale for both teams. Ace hopping over the wall, gets a chain, but it's onto Appman, trying to get that Rage Bar too high. Force Appman into a difficult position. The Gnar bar going up, 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 and Rage is achieved. Rend is getting super high. Dragon being started. The Callista can secure. It'll be a massive steal for Blank, who gets it somehow, some way. The fight now continuing. Stormbringer trying to get out. Sengoku Gaming trying to get in. They get the Meganar onto Callista, who goes down. They can't secure the dragon. They can't secure the fight. And Blank finds a double, and this world champion of previous years picks up everything in the fight.
Yes, the steal versus the Rend. What a hard thing to do. It's not the 50-50, it's the 80-20. But the dice rolls up with Blank's number on it. 4-0 and 3 gets himself and his team onto Soul Point. And with 3 people there from V3, it might be converted into a Baron as well.
How on earth did that happen? I have got to see the replay, because it should have been easy as you like. It should have been uncontestable, frankly. 80-20 is often a little kind when you have pro teams coordinating here. It's going to cost them Baron and Ocean Soul Point and possibly the game here. Sengoku Gaming now in a commanding position. Appman has stepped forward with Meganar available, looking to get onto Reiner, but can't quite find it. Dredge line out.
He's so strong this game. He's so strong. He has himself so much. I mean, I was saying that for the last fight, right? The Phantom is really nice, and I think it does come important here because I think his health bar does drop a little bit low. He has himself that flank position. You know he's strong. He's level 16, got that tier 3 of that Gnar ultimate, and that means that Ace has had to be on this flank the entire time. Steele comes through, has the 2-level advantage, manages to pull it off, and Archer is stuck on the retreat at this point. Gets hit by so many Iceborne slows, and then Apperman's right in the middle of things. Doesn't matter if you have a QSS or not, just ends up getting shut down. Apperman really good on that flank, but then Yutorimashi able to run through the rest of the fight too, as Ezreal's do. And Sengoku find themselves a dominant position now in this game.
They do, and I think that was a frame-perfect smite there from Blank. I want to go back over. But, like, it was... I saw the rend come out as the smite came through from both junglers, and Blank was the one who got it, but... That's kind of insane.
He did okay for himself on that one.
And it's now a 5,000 gold lead for Sengoku Gaming. They've got map control. They've got...
2-tower advantage.
They have... this Gnar that is full split push damage build with the addition of the Spirit Visage, because why the hell not? You're into a Lilia and of course the LeBlanc can help. Volibear does a certain amount of magic damage as well. Makes a lot of sense to me.
No, I think that this is a very good build. He's ended up showing that he's tanky enough to survive a lot of the engages, and now he can still be split pushing too.
No, not again.
God's sake. Blank! Give it a rest, man!
Archer's Rend is not as good as a collateral damage, it turns out. Apperman trading with Ace, who does nothing
this is
versus
the thing, right?
the guy.
He has 3,500 HP in mini Gnar, and he has the magic resist to stand in this lane, has the Baron buff to keep pushing him with impunity. You can't wave clear against him, you can't kill him, you just have to sit and wait for that Baron buff to time out. It's another turret, 5-2 now, and the gold lead keeps increasing.
3,500 HP as the champion with the lowest base stats in the game is kind of insane in mini Gnar. Course now is going to get to shove in, and saying V3 need to find the mother of all engages, because right now Ace cannot lane against this. I don't think anybody really can.
No, but this is the problem, right?
That's it.
So V3 want to be stuck in a 1-3-1 with their double teleport and having these sideliners holding waves where they can, getting the XP differential. But Ace cannot really stand in this 4v4. He doesn't do enough. And of course, he can't do the 1v1 versus Apperman. They're losing the inhibitor. They just don't have any lane allocations, which are working for them.
I think that last fight might have broken the camel's back. Boogie is the one who's been left to deal with Apperman. He's got a decent amount of tank shred, in fairness. He's got, of course, the Leandries and the passive that dust, but we're going to see a bit of an engage here, potentially. Sengoku Gaming stepping forward. Find the Zenith Blade. Fate's Call buys time for Reiner, but he is so low and has to go out. That will be a second inhibitor down, and Sengoku Gaming pick up 3,500 gold off the back of their Baron power play.
The immediate implications is there's a minute until Dragon. The super minion waves will have spawned by that point in both mid and top lane, and Sengoku get to reset, use all of that gold, and mean that they have all of this gold advantage to fight for this Ocean Salt point in. So now we have XP advantages, we have map pressure because of the crashing super minion waves into V3's base. On the top side of the map, the opposite side of the map that V3 wants to be on, Sengoku have a lot of ways to play out this fight now. They've got a lot of things stacking in their favor.
Oh, V3 don't want to give up without a fight. They're here. They want to make sure it doesn't end up... Remember, Ace is not. He's now teleporting in, but Enchi taken very low. Stone plate pop, but Yutorimashi pops Paz, who goes down, and now Apperman in the back line trying to do as much work as he can. That's an Emperor's Divide that secures a double for Yutorimashi. The Mega Gnar is there, and now Enti finds another way in. Archer hopping, but only to his grave. He's 6 foot deep, and the rest of the game might be as well. Make it a mass grave. It's 3 dead. It's super minions pushing in the mid lane, and it's Pyrian on the hunt for Bambi. She's going to try and run out. Lilia here onto the blast plant, but it's only buying time because you can see the rest of Sengoku. They're in the base. They want to end it. Enti finds another Zenith Blade, and it is just a Nautilus remaining. Teleport in, and Sengoku Gaming will secure game 2.
It's a hop, a skip, and a jump back to the Nexus for Archer, Boogie, Ace, and Paz. They go down in that dragon fight and the ensuing madness. Sengoku, strike back in game 2.
It was another game that ended up close in mid, but it is Sengoku Gaming critically who find the dragon fight victory that sees them break the game wide open, and suddenly that Gnar... too hard to deal with, eh? But to find out a little bit more, we're going to cut to a swift break, and then we'll be back with an analyst desk to break it all down.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Officially Unofficial's coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Split Playoffs match. Round 2, match number 1, game number 2 now in the books, 1-1. However, this time Sengoku were victorious in this one. Gentlemen, the early game, however, was V3, so who wants to take the V3 start?
I can do that if you want.
Go on, Nymera. Go for it.
Okay, cool. So it wasn't a lane swap again. It was still a split map from V3. We still saw...
Very much was.
What we do often see when you do have the stronger level 1 supports, so stuff like Morgana, Braum, and of course Nautilus, which was locked in for V3, you can walk aggressively in with a group of people and steal some buffs and try and make it into vertical jungling. That's exactly what V3 do. That means that they have access to try and dive under turret and bot lane, which they successfully did.
They did.
But this time, it wasn't the fact... Well, V3 did not manage to put down Apperman, even though on his Gnar we've had some issues with that before, and that became a... not so much a thorn in the side of V3 as like a ruddy big spear.
Yeah, it was not the intended way through that, though V3 were able to secure the early victory down in that bot lane, get many turret plates over onto Archer, and it seemed like it was going pretty good. They dived bot lane a few times, didn't they, Initialize?
They did. They managed to catch NT Utorimashi being a little over-eager to get to turret. NT goes down for first blood. Utorimashi steps up. Boogie has it left. They dive him too. And things are looking pretty good. Problem is the other side of the map. Paz is getting dived as well. And it's looking a bit rough on that side instead.
Well, let's talk about that. I'll let you take it first, Initialize, as Nymera was allowed to set up this one. Sengoku started pulling it back, and it was 4-1. V3 favored. Looked like everything was going. They were collapsing on to the Apperman himself. But Apperman doesn't go down easy, does he, Initialize?
He does not. He got first turret, Blank put Paz down, there was a 50 CS lead. This top side was looking like it was going to be difficult, so V3 say, right,
agreed,
we're going to shut it down. Apperman's wandering into the river, we're thinking, oh no, he's doing an Apperman thing.
Oh, he's walked the wrong way.
And he's just walked the wrong way. But then V3 expect him to walk the right way, don't find him in time, and he sees everyone, flashes out, and they do get a Swell Seed to force to get the Lilting Lullaby down.
They do.
NT is just out of range, and they really want it. They really do. So they throw out the hook. It hits a minion. NT takes turret aggro. They have to Fates call him out. They've taken too long. 3 other members of Sengoku Gaming are coming out. They've burned all their ultimates, and suddenly they've got half HP, no ultimates, and there's 4 members of Sengoku Gaming who come in and get 3 kills onto their own squad, and they shut down Archer. They get a hold of Boogie. They get a hold of Reiner, and like it was suddenly.
It was brutal.
For 2k gold lead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that gold lead that V3 had was decimated. Well, actually, that's not a big deal now that we've learned that decimation isn't actually
it's a
big
10th.
deal.
You cut a 10th off.
Yeah, it's like, which actually was kind of close because they were close and now it's a bit nearer. Huh, I weirdly used that word correctly for once. I don't know how I feel about that. But then, gentlemen, not a lot happened after that. The gold lead that was for V3 became even. The team started taking small edges from each other. Jungle camped. Sengoku got a few dragons, and then there was a dragon for V3. Very even until one very critical play around dragon. Ren stacks. V3 had the priority. They began it. But Nymera... how did it unfold?
Turns out Blank's really good. So Blank
Weird.
and Boogie have been 2 of our best junglers throughout this entire year. I think that Boogie was our jungler of Spring Split.
He was.
Blank has been very, very critical to Sengoku's success in this split, and of course the last one too. He comes in, he has a level advantage onto Boogie's Lilia. He ends up getting the smite against the Rend of the Callista. We need to go watch over that clip.
1250 HP went down from.
1250 HP was the smite amount, and of course you remember even a level 18 smite can't do that, so it will have had to have been timed very, very precisely from Blank. He gets the steal, and then V3 are kind of stuck up the creek without a paddle, and then Sengoku take the fight. They have some individual advantages to play around, and then of course the Ezreal, who hasn't really been much of a factor that game so far, just ends up running through and putting down the damage he needs to.
Yeah.
Blank gets a triple. They walk over to Baron. 5,000 gold lead.
Game's over.
And that was it, really. It was through that Sengoku, once they get in control, they do not give it up without any form of a fight. We'll talk about far more about this game, though. However, over on our podcast, we'll get that plug in. But gentlemen, I'm going to relieve you for a moment. We're going to go on a short break, but when we come back, we'll be bringing Game 3 coverage for the playoffs match between Sengoku Gaming facing off against V3 Esports. Don't go anywhere.